All right, so let's start this, shall we? Okay, awesome. Okay, all right, everybody. Welcome to the third Southern Steelhead Coalition. Thank you for coming here today. I hope you guys are enjoying the weather. I am sorry if there's any road work that has impacted you or landslides. I hope everyone is staying safe out there while also enjoying nature. Okay, so let's just go over the agenda real quick for today. This meeting's gonna last till 12. Hopefully you'll be able to pop out and get some lunch right after, get this all done, and then have a wonderful day. So first thing we're gonna do is just a quick hello and updates. That's from me. Then we'll have a wonderful talk from Christian Romberger. Thank you for being here today. Hopefully I pronounced your name right. I'm really sorry if I didn't. Next, then we'll have a nice long time for discussions because I believe this is a really important topic on Cutting the Green Tape program. So feel free to ask me these questions, be discussion. After that, Christian, feel free to turn your camera off, get some water if you need. If you want to stick around, if you can stick around, that's great. If not, I totally understand because, being questioned at can be a little exhausting. After that, we'll have the standing item that I have to have, which is if you are a partnered organization, you have a partner project with us, we would love an update. It's really good for the website, and also it's good to let our grant partners know what projects are going on and how they're updating. Okay, and so that will be done. I'll ask for no interruptions. We just got to get through that so we can have a long a long conversation with each other and announcements. This will be my plug. If you have any restoration projects that you might want to do and want me to write a grant for, you can hit me up for that. Email me, please. And then next is finally the open discussion and announcements for the coalition and members so we can all talk about if we need collaboration. If you have anything you want to ask about or need advice on, this would be the time to do it at that time. Okay, so quick hello. You see a giant QR code on your screen. What is that for? Well, we are trying to, CalTrout is trying to list Southern Steelhead on the California Endangered Species Act. This will offer more protection to the species. If you have time today, please sign this petition. All you need is your name and your email. You don't even have to sign up for email updates. We'd really appreciate this. This is really something we're really fighting for, and it's important to help protect steelhead as a whole. Next, if you'd like to, when I send this slides out, we do have a standing survey, so I can make sure to tailor these meetings to you. If you would like to know or like to know something about like steelhead or want to learn more about something, please fill that out on a survey or just email me and tell me directly. But this might be anonymous. Maybe it's easier for you to just fill out this form whenever, and I will be checking these periodically to make sure that the meetings are actually giving something back to you. Yeah. Next meeting date is going to be this time, this date, but in June. So mark your calendars now. I'll send you guys an email after this meeting today to start up to send out another meeting invite. And again, I said this at the beginning of the meeting, but I just want to say, feel free to send these to all interested parties. This is a coalition to bring people together to help problem solve. So if you want to send it to somebody, go ahead, forward this meeting to somebody. I did realize though, but make sure it's not a bad actor. We don't really need to be disrupting the meeting. So feel free to send these to whoever you think would be interested, any stakeholders or concerned citizens. All right. So that was our quick update. I'm now going to move it over to Christian on Cutting the Green Tape program. I'm sure he has a different title, but I didn't want to bother him about it. So yeah. And then after that, we will have questions. You'll have questions and able to be doing some discussions from. All right. So I'm going to let you share your screen, Christian, and let me know if you need anything else from me. Okay. And hold on.
Okay.
There you go. You should be able to share now.
Awesome. Thank you. Let me know. Looks like you can see my screen. Okay, my name is Christian Romberger. I'm the Cutting the Green Tape Coordinator for Region 5, South Coast. I'm here to help any restoration project move more quickly through the permitting NEXI and from CDFW, but also can help with some other permit types. Today, I'm just going to go over the entirety of CDFW's Cutting the Green Tape program, kind of the rationale behind it, and then kind of each of the permitting pathways or tools that we have. It's not a super long presentation, but happy to take questions at the end. And we can always go back to slides if people are interested. So what is cutting the green tape? The ethos, or kind of the very beginning, is they really wanted to promote permitting and granting efficiencies together. We're really pushing the permitting efficiencies side right now, but it's kind of helping to integrate into our granting program as well. We're housed within the same branch of the department, which is really fun. So the Cutting the Green Tape is within the grants branch. So we're able to communicate really effectively. We're looking to streamline permitting processes for restoration projects in particular. So, if there's going to be a benefit for the species, happy to talk about it. There are a few restrictions, but nothing that I'm not happy to talk about. Primarily, we're implementing new take authorizations for 2081A take and fully protected species take for restoration projects. We're also implementing a CEQA statutory exemption, which was, I think it came about in late of 2021. So I've been playing with it for a while now. But that's been a really interesting tool, this statutory exemption restoration projects. We've had quite a few of them in the state and many in South Coast. So it's been fun to figure that out. And in future, we're hoping to integrate lake and stream adulteration agreements into Cutting the Green Tape. So allowing for 1,600 coverage for restoration projects in a more quick, streamlined, and possibly less costly manner. So couple of key ideas, really focusing on promotion of restoration projects, getting them off the ground more quickly, being able to push them forward and see these results in a much more timely way. We're really looking for net benefits to habitat and to species, and we highly, highly encourage pre-consultations. So whether that be just coming to me or another person in CDFW that is kind of an expert in that area or field, or coming to the headquarters team, having those conversations early is super important to be able to move the projects forward in a successful way. So the first tool I'm going to talk about today is called a restoration consistency determination. You all might be more familiar with a normal consistency determination. These are take coverages for duly listed Endangered Species Act and California Endangered Species Act species. So a good example of this is Least-Bell's vireo. It utilizes biological opinions from U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and NIFS. Another good example is Southern Steelhead. There's no fee associated with a restoration consistency determination. And something that I would highly encourage folks to look at in particular is fairly recent programmatic biological opinion from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. I think that was released, in mid-22. But you can find some of this information on our website. You can also go to an organization called Sustainable Conservation. They have a lot of resources for the alternative or non-CDFW, but also CDFW permitting pathways. So great resource. The next kind of really flexible permitting pathway we have for CISA listed and fully protected species take coverages is called a restoration management permit. This consolidates take for restoration projects into one package. If you have duly listed species and CISA only listed species and fully protected species, we can give you take for all of that in one package, which is awesome because the less actually physical pieces of permits you have is probably much more easy to figure out. The project can include construction, implementation, operations and maintenance, and ongoing monitoring coverage. There's no fee associated with an RMP. It's a really flexible tool that we can use to help these restoration projects move forward. It's really, really cool. There's a lot we can do with these things. I'm always open to talking through ideas of what the restoration project needs and how we can kind of functionally support that through an RMP potentially. And again, this is CISA coverage and fully protected species coverage. Next, I want to talk about our statutory exemption to CEQA. It's known as SB 155 or the Statutory Exemption for Restoration Projects, SERP. It's under Public Resource Code 21080.56. You can look that up if you're inclined to read some really fun legalese. I don't have the actual written down statute here because it is kind of confusing the way it's written. So what I've done is kind of taken out the actual substantive bits of it and kind of broken it down a little bit. So if we need to go back at the end of the presentation and go through this a little bit more deeply, I'm happy to. But the idea is that the statutory exemption provides CEQA coverage or an exemption from CEQA for restoration projects that meet all of the requirements within the statute. The project has to have the primary purpose of protecting or enhancing habitat or aiding in the recovery of a species. So it has to be restoration, has to have benefits for a species. There may be incidental public benefits, and that can be something like recreational, so access, or something else that isn't the exact focus of the project, but kind of auxiliary to it. And if you feel like your project needs everything but this, come talk to me. We can kind of figure something out if it might work. And then the project needs to address several items, including climate resiliency, biodiversity, sensitive species recovery specifically. So kind of how that the project specifically identifies and addresses each of these key topics is really important to the overall process. And the project must include procedures and ongoing management for the protection of the environment. What that means is the project needs to have avoidance and minimization measures that would promote the species to not kind of be harmed. So I'm thinking avoidance minimization measures that look a lot like a lake and stream alteration agreement measures, and then also kind of a long-term management kind of plan or goals for the project past the life of the actual implementation. And then construction can be included in these statutory exemptions, but it must solely be related to the restoration project. A good example of this is a new bridge constructed to address fish passage issues. So we could totally do that under a SERP. We just need to make sure that whatever construction is happening, it's solely related to the habitat restoration function. So just to kind of go through the little process of what we were expecting through CEQA exemption is, we really highly encourage lead agencies to pre-consult with CDFW, whether it be more informal consultation directly with me or other regional staff, but also with our headquarters staff as well, which can be accessed via this restoration permitting at wildlife.ca.gov website. The lead agency, after a drafting process, we're happy to go through that iterative process with the lead agency. They would submit a concurrence request with the required determinations of their supporting evidence to the department through our EPIMS website or portal, and potentially on our SERP request form, which is not required but highly encouraged. We then evaluate the lead agency's determination for concurrence to make sure that we agree with what they're saying, and then director issues his concurrence, and we post this concurrence within 48 hours of its signature. Of note is that the statutory exemption currently does expire on January 1st of 2025. We're potentially hoping that it will be extended, or that language in the statute will be removed so that it doesn't sunset, but at the moment it still exists. So beware. And the last little tool I want to talk about has been around for quite a while, but it's a really, really great little tool for small projects. It's called the Habitat Restoration and Enhancement Act. The HREA covers CEQA, CISA, LSA. It covers everything from CDFW. It's a one-stop shop permit for small projects. There are some caveats to this. It needs to not be required mitigation. It needs to be 5 acres or less for the project. It needs to be 500 linear feet or less, or less than 500 linear feet, really, to qualify for HREA. But it's an awesome tool because it's one permit in hand and you're ready to go. And it's pretty quick too. Once you turn in your official submittal, it's either a 60 or a 30-day turnaround, which is pretty phenomenal for a government agency. Yeah, some of the eligibility requirements, like I mentioned, has primary purpose of restoration, 5 acres or less. It needs to meet eligibility requirements for the small habitat restoration project certification from the water boards, which is a limiting 500 linear feet limit to its projects. And then finally, the project must be consistent with the best available restoration and enhancement methodologies. So you need to show us that you're doing whatever's been proposed in the literature and is quote unquote the best available or best possible. So some of those could be such as the California Salmon Habitat Restoration Manual that the department has. NIMS guidelines or manuals are another good example. Recovery plans are another thing you could include. Yeah, great tool. Again, it's just one or two sheets of paper and that's all you need. So highly encourage that when possible. So you may be asking, how do I start going down this permitting pathway for my project? And my first reaction would say, hey, come talk to me. Let's figure out your project and where it could fit and the easiest pathway forward for it. You're also welcome to email the headquarters email address, which I've put here again, restorationpermitting@wildlife.ca.gov. And there's a lot of resources on our webpage and on Sustainable Conservation's webpage, as I mentioned before. So that's my presentation. I'm happy to take questions now. We can go back to some of the slides if you feel like you missed something or have a specific question. So yeah, Sarah.
I'll unmute. Thanks, Tristan. That was really great presentation. And, the city participated in some of these pathways for project in the completed construction 2022. So I can't, applaud CDFW's efforts on cutting the green tape enough. I do have just a quick question going back to the categorical or the exemption, CEQA exemption, SB 155. Could you highlight how that differs from the small habitat restoration exemption that's under the HREA? Like, does this one,
Sure.
SB 155, have a different size limit or anything like that?
So SB 155 and CADX 33 are both a CEQA kind of exemption. SB 155 is a statutory exemption versus a categorical exemption. CAT 33 has that 5 acre limit. SERP has no size limit.
Okay.
There's a lot, the limits are more kind of in the project itself being eligible for the statutory exemption based on the statute itself. I believe the CADX 33 says the primary purpose, or it has to be a restoration project, and it has to be less than 5 acres, basically.
Okay.
And SERP has to be a restoration project. It can have incidental public benefits. It needs to address specific things, and there can be construction only if it's habitat restoration related.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, real quick, I just have a quick question for people who
Yeah.
don't know what you meant by.
Oh, Elizabeth, I think you're muted again.
Sorry, I have a very touchy space bar now. But for people who don't know what take was, can you define that for us? You were talking about.
Yeah, catch, capture, kill. That's CESA defined take. So if you're handling a species, you're going to need take.
Thanks.
Bruce?
Hi, Christian. Thanks for the overview. It was great reminder of what's needed. I just wanted to let you and everyone else know that we've been talking with Christian and others about a watershed-wide Arundo SERP exemption, and working with Ventura County RCD, UCSB, and some others. And we've got a package that's ready, hopefully today, to go into Christian to follow up on our prior conversations. So I just want to let you know that's in the works and let everyone else know about it as well. And then this is affiliated with our watershed-wide Arundo management program, WAM. So we're trying to get that moving and leveraged with some state funding that should go to Santa Clarita Valley Water soon. That'll help us build that effort further. So if anyone's interested, they can contact me offline. Thanks.
Thanks, Bruce. Yeah, Jamie sent something over today, so
Perfect.
we're taking a look. Lucilla, is that how you say your name? Apologies if I butchered it.
Yeah, no worries. Hi, Christian. It's Lucy with Stillwater.
Oh, Lucy.
Well, Lucilla is my full name, but
Yeah.
I go by Lucy because it's easier.
Yeah, I got it.
So I had a question about the RMP. What is that
Mhm.
process like? Because I've heard from folks in Central California region that it's not really an application, it's just with the SERP process. And so I just wanted a little more information on that.
They're not tied together in any sense. You could have an RMP without having a SERP. You could have them together too. We, generally speaking, try to incorporate both potential consultations together. We like having a consultation for the RMP. It's a much more fluid process. And I would also suggest you request a consultation with myself first, so I can go through the project, so that we're screening out certain things or pointing out flaws in the project prior to a formal consultation, so that we can address it in a meaningful way. But if you want both, we could do a consultation for both CEQA, SERP, and RMP, or one or the other. So it's, basically the consultation process is the same, more or less, but they don't have to be together.
Got it. And then my other two questions, which you probably aren't sure yet, but when are they expecting to make a decision to extend or take out that expiration for the SERP? And then when are they expecting to try and incorporate the LSA into the cutting the green tape?
Let's see. It's a legislative process to change the statute, so I don't know, but potentially by the end of the fiscal year, I would expect they'll hopefully will know yes or no. And then I don't have any sort of timeline on the potential 1600 coverage. I know we're interested in it, but I know it's just kind of a process like everything else. So I know we'll let people know when we have better information.
Awesome. Thanks, Christian.
Totally. Mark.
Yes, thank you, Christian. I'm from Santa Barbara, and I'm in the Santa Barbara Fly Fishing Club here. And I wanted to let everybody know that, or let you know that we're having a fly fishing film tour on the 19th, and we'll be taking signatures for the listing petitions. So with the audience that will be coming. And we've just formed a subcommittee working on the Santa Ynez River system below the reservoir. And I just am curious, because we're working with Elizabeth, but I'm just curious as to if we think about or try to isolate a couple of projects on the Santa Ynez that we might be interested in getting done. Do we come to you in a pre-consultation process to decide or to get your consultation, I guess, on whether the project is something that's doable, and how we would proceed? Is that how that works, or is that not the pre-consultation process?
That's, I think the pre-consultation would be primarily for the permitting pathways. If you're speaking more generally to the project itself, and if CDFW is interested in helping you all pursue that, I would say you should reach out to Kyle Evans, the anadromous fisheries supervisor, to see how interested we are in that. He'd be the best kind of one-stop shop, but yeah, I'm not sure. And I saw Casey Horgan on here earlier. Maybe he has information as well, but definitely.
Yeah, Christian.
Oh, here's Kyle. Hi.
Sorry, I was on a different call, so I joined about 20 minutes late. I caught the end of your presentation though, and that was great. Yes, and Mark, I'd be happy to talk anytime about some potential projects, within the San Ynez or Santa Barbara County in general, and kind of like how the priority and the biological need, and just love talking about fish things. So I can put my contact info in the chat, and then. Absolutely, and Christian could be a great person to rope in when we start talking about the permitting process itself.
Yeah, happy
Okay,
to.
if you put your info in the chat, that would be good. We have a meeting with Tim Robinson on the
Oh,
20th,
cool.
and we'll be talking with him more about what the Bureau is doing and what he's focused on and that kind of thing. So we not only have a history, but kind of where they are currently and what they're looking at or thinking about. So
Great. Yeah, Tim's aware of some of the CGT pathways, and he's utilized HREA quite a bit. So
Okay.
he's kind of in the know per se about what might be a good pathway. But again, I'm happy to be part of the conversation whenever you guys are ready for me.
Okay, perfect. Thanks.
Elizabeth?
Hey, Christian again. So that was actually my question, right? If
Oh, I think you muted yourself.
see my space bar, I put my notebook down and it just mutes me. I gotta push it aside. Again, that was gonna be actually my question. So what is the pathway to doing this? Should you secure funding first and then contact you, or maybe contact you while you're trying to secure funding so the project is more likely to get a green light?
I think generally speaking, there's kind of a really wide answer for you. And I would say, when you're seeking funding for a project, you want to make sure you have the right CDFW staff kind of in the know about your project. And in this case, Kyle is really the go-to person just to give you more or less the thumbs up prior to seeking funding for a project as it pertains to Steelhead. And then once you have funding to pursue planning, I would encourage a project to incorporate pursuing permits around 65% design. And at that point, we have kind of a more foundational idea of what the preferred alternative is. And we can likely issue permits on that level of design. So incorporating into the planning process. And then once we have that kind of focus level of design, we can do permits on that, CEQA, LSA, CISA, and once you make it then to your full design and implementation phase, your permits are in hand already. You can just roll right into implementation, hopefully. That's the dream of what the project would be, and we all know that sometimes it's a little more complicated than that. But
No, that's a really good roadmap for some people who aren't as savvy with the planning process or even the restoration process. So that's still a really good ideal route. I bet you probably have to go back and forth quite a bit sometimes though with some of these projects though.
yeah, sometime, and regardless, if you need a contact at CDFW for a restoration project, happy to be that person. If it ends up being that I'm not the right fit for the exact moment, I'm happy to point you in the right direction too. So,
and I'll say one more thing before we let Mark go with another question. I did do earlier in the year, I did a great tour on Halloween with Kyle about San Ynez projects, and some he recommended. So if anybody else would like to do projects, and you can also contact me and Kyle or Christian, whoever else. It was a wonderful day to tour the watershed. But yeah. Mark, you have a question?
You just answered it. So with your question. So thank you.
I guess I have another question then.
Mhm.
What do you think is the most complex part of this process? People should probably devote more time to. It might seem pretty simple, but they should really pay special attention to.
I think there's a couple of things I would mention. We really encourage folks to have a really solid CEQA lead agency in place prior to requesting consultation, and understanding what the requirements are for a CEQA lead to be CEQA lead have kind of been harder for folks to understand, and I don't blame them sometimes. But that's really a need. I'd also say that part of our consultation process is making sure that the lead agency and project proponent have done meaningful tribal engagement. And sometimes that just takes a while to get done. I'm not inferring that statutory exemption projects are required to meet AB 52 standards, but we do, or it is the prerogative of the department to make sure that folks have made meaningful tribal engagement a priority in their project prior to submitting determination for concurrence. So those are kind of the two bigger hurdles that we've noticed.
And just again for clarity of the term, when you mean CEQA lead, you mean what do you mean by that?
So CEQA lead agency is a public agency. It could be state, local, or county government type folks. And they make a discretionary action, which is a CEQA action on the project, whether it be to fund or carry out or approve the project in some sense. And they need to have that discretionary action to be able to be lead, meaning that they have a kind of a hand in the project. For the most part, that's kind of the rough definition. If you want to get into the whole CEQA language, you can do that at your own risk.
Yeah, I just wanted to get some of these terms down because sometimes I wanted to be available for everybody. If they're not really familiar with the jargon, they can look at this as a good base to
Absolutely.
understand fully.
Yeah. So we have a hand raised from I don't know your name, but feel free to go.
That's 1946-74.
I know, that's weird. Good morning, everyone. Thank you. So Kristen, when you mentioned the tribal engagement, is it federally recognized tribes of the consultation, or could it be a Section 106 consultation for individuals, elders, descendants, lineal descendants?
There's no definition within the statute,
Okay.
but what we have kind of pushed on this is meaningful engagement with tribal governments or peoples that are interested in the project. So,
Mhm.
As much as they can do the footwork to reach out or know the folks are interested in talking about the project or being involved in the project, that's what we're looking for. So it's really open-ended largely. So I would say yes to your question. Yes, that can be part of it. But it's really hard. I think it's really hard for folks to know. So I think that's part of why this coalition is important, so that people can have those communications and dialogues and connections. So I would encourage folks, or if you have contacts, to send them to folks that know of projects or potentially are thinking about doing projects, so that there can be that involvement from tribal folks, tribal peoples.
Thank you. My name is Julie Tumamayat Stensley.
Julie.
I'm from the Ojai Valley.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Yeah. So there's a lot going on here right now.
Oh,
with the
yeah,
Ventura River.
absolutely. Very,
All
very
right.
true.
Okay. Thank you.
Of course.
And I was just gonna say an example for lead CEQA because it's in the chat. Thank you, Bruce. It says related to lead agency discussion for watershed wide Arunda removal. SERP submittal Ventura County RCD is taking on the CEQA lead agency role, which is really good to have an example in that context, right? So thank you for providing that, Bruce. Really appreciate that. All right. So any final questions or just points of discussion? I think understanding all these terms is really useful. And hopefully this is going to be recorded so you can go back and listen to this again. And you have Christian's email, which is really good. Thank you for providing that.
Yeah, I'll pop it into the chat too for folks. Happy to be contacted at any time. So no worries. Garrett? I think you're on mute still.
Great, thank you. Sorry about that. Great presentation. Great to get the rundown on the Cutting Green Tape initiative. I know our organization's been very impressed with that and using that as a model nationally. I work for the Environmental Policy Innovation Center, and I'm the Western Restoration Program Manager. But I just wanted to highlight that one of the capacities I can provide to project development and planning is the assistance and coordination of with tribes. And I provide pro bono technical assistance to assist tribal participation in these projects, whether they're tribally led or just a partner in the project, and happy to contribute wherever I can. I'm based in New Mexico, but I grew up on the Central Coast there in Ventura and Santa Barbara, and my geographic footprint is from California to Washington and Idaho included as well. But a lot of focus on California and Oregon right now, and very interested in San Ynez projects, and largely just because I have a passion for that area, but there's a great need for the ESA potential for the Southern Steelhead and just the rivers in that area with the barriers. In particular for barriers, if projects have a culvert or a barrier removal component to them, I'm particularly interested and can actually assist in finding leveraging a lot of the federal funding right now that's available to support that. And that includes application development and assistance there too. So Russell Marlowe was going to introduce me today. He's not on, so I'm just taking this opportunity to kind of introduce myself. But thank you.
Thanks, Garrett. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Garrett. Sorry about that. But yeah, all right. So somebody's asking you to share your info. And then we have another question. And remember, if you have any more discussions or announcements, we'll be saving that towards the end of the meeting.
Mark?
Hi, Christian. I'm Mark Chatillo. I'm in Santa Barbara, South Coast, focusing largely on Mission Creek. And we've got both some violations and enforcement issues that the department's involved with, and some money through for SEPs, as well as through to the County Fish and Wildlife Commission. And I've been trying to put together the pieces to be able to assemble a project to deal in Mission Creek with both the load of sediment and the ongoing enforcement issues and associated with the presence of road grading and landslides and sort of the Wild West of roads and road management in our foothills, along with removal of fish barriers and the reestablishment of in-stream flows. And what I've kind of been hearing is that the priority for Santa Ynez and Santa Maria and some of the other streams are really taking precedent, and so I've been challenged in trying to put together partnerships dealing with Mission Creek in particular. So are there programs that the department is supportive of that might be appropriate for some of these other secondary watersheds? And we are in critical habitat up to a certain point in the Mission Creek watershed. We have had in the past landlocked rainbow trout populations resident that have been extirpated as a result of some of the activities that have been going on. And launching into a program trying to get grant funding for these larger efforts is daunting. But am I right that really, given the programs that are out there and the kinds of things that we're trying to move forward in dealing with this violation environment and ongoing remediations in this secondary watershed, is there grant funding? Is it worth going down this path? That's really my fundamental question. Is it worth going down the path with the department to try and put together a coalition specifically focused on this area, and what kind of advice would you give me?
Well, I think first off, it's really hard for any grant funding program through the state to give money to a project that's mitigation or some sort of enforcement.
Sure.
So I would say that's kind of a hard sticking point. But if the project you're thinking of specifically might not be that exact requirement or enforcement, then it probably could be grant funded. But that's kind of really case by case basis. I'm happy to have a larger conversation offline, Mark, to see how we can
Yeah.
help you.
Thanks.
I know
Yeah.
I know we're interested in Mission Creek, generally speaking. I know I'm sure Kyle kind of knows what's going on, but largely happy to see what we can do or point you in the right direction somewhere. So
Yeah, we're on the NGO side trying to add on and amplify what the violators are going to have to deal
right.
with. Thanks. Yeah, it'd be probably helpful to have a conversation with you and Kyle further. So thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to.
All right, so it's about 11:16, which will give us a little bit over, a little over 40 minutes, 35 minutes to get things going. So let us move on to the rest of my presentation here. Alrighty, give me 1 second. Thank you so much again, Christian, for making time today. Really appreciate that. And if you have any more questions for him, we do have open discussion at the end. Yeah, so let's get on with this and then we'll finish up. Okay, so this is part of, next we're gonna do prioritize restoration projects. So I do have a couple of things for you. So we're gonna do Cal Trout based first. This is a time for you to give updates on your project from a couple of our partner organizations. And then also if you have any support, please let us know what needed. So Russell again is not able to be here today. So I will be giving some updates on Harvey and Rose Valley. And then we have somebody to give some updates for Santa Clara because he doesn't have anything on that on his end. So for Rose Valley, he said we'll have an admin final draft by April 2024. So next month, all permits have been submitted to the agencies for renew. Need to build multi-agency funding package for implementation to start as soon as 2025. So he's really moving on Rose Valley to get everything started about 2025. For Harvey, he's eagerly awaiting funding decisions from NOAA, the Bureau of Reclamation, WCB, roughly for 55 million in final planning and implementation grant apps. Should start to hear back soon. He did a big funding push in the early January and a little bit after. I see there was somebody in chat. Okay, that's cool. Okay, and so that is he has no updates for the Santa Clara estuary, but I was hoping that Sarah Mulder could give us a little quick update for that. Sarah?
Yeah, not a Cal Trout project, but the city is still moving forward on our Ventura Water Pier program, which is reducing our wastewater effluent to the Santa Clara River estuary to comply with a consent decree, who we are partners with with Wish Foundation. I think Tevin was on this meeting, and Heal the Bay. So that's moving forward, getting through all of the required permitting with an estimated reduction in diversion date of the end of 2025 for all of the compliance reasons. And state parks, I don't know if they're on this call, Elizabeth, but I know they're working on a separate Santa Clara River estuary restoration project on the campground relocation.
Yeah, I did contact them. I just don't think they were available today, unfortunately. But that's okay. But thank you. Is that it, or?
Yep, still on track for by the end of 2025, reducing our effluent discharge to the estuary.
That sounds great. Okay. Thank you. All right. So next we have the Wishatoyo Foundation. Tevin, we'd love to hear about Vern Freeman and the Santa Clara River Watershed Monitoring Program.
Hey everybody, thanks for having us on. Good to see everybody here today. My name is Tevin Schmidt. I'm a watershed scientist for the Wish Foundation Center Coastkeeper Program. The Vern Freeman diversion, a quick update. We were in court in January, and the United Water Conservation District got a extension because there's some dispute between CDFW, NIMS, and United over bypass flow regime. The regulatory agencies are pushing for 500 CFS bypass flows during the migration season for Steelhead, and extending the defined migration season for United. Under RPA 2, they were just having to make sure there was 160 CFS in the lower Santa Clara River between January and like June. They've now extended that from November to June, and 500 CFS, and United is not taking it too well. So there's some dispute there. We're still trying to figure it out in mediation, but they got a 60-day I guess extension to submit their multiple species habitat conservation plan for the construction of the hardened ramp and larger diversion infrastructure at the Vern Freeman diversion. So that's kind of what's going on right now. Still in this limbo period before they submit their application and come out with their environmental impact report for that construction project. Our watershed monitoring program is I don't know, constantly expanding. And I'm working with UCLA this year with one of their ecology classes. Some undergrads are going to join me in doing a kind of an updated aquatic invasive species monitoring project in the Santa Clara River watershed this upcoming quarter. All right, that's updates for me.
Thanks so much, Tevin. All right, let us look who's next. Okay, and we have Friends of the Santa Clara River. Try to reach out. I'm not sure if anybody's here from that today. Talk about Siscar Creek.
I'm yeah.
Oh,
well,
yay!
yeah, Candace Minigan. So I'm wearing two hats today. I've just started as the new executive director of Coastal Ranches Conservancy, but I'm also on the board of Friends of the Santa Clara River. And we've officially kicked off our Siscar Creek Bridge Restoration Project. Right now we're going through permitting. We're using the Cutting the Green Tape initiative that Christian touched on this morning, and going through permitting with the Los Angeles Regional Water Control Board. Due to the storm events, we are having to do additional review of stream channels to see if our design has to be edited in any way. So that's currently in process, and we'll know if that's going to end up delaying the project or not. Hopefully it will not delay the project and we can still use the expedited permitting pathway. That's the hope. But we're very encouraged that this one is going to be breaking ground soon. And then Friends of the Santa Clara River, together with Coastal Ranches Conservancy, has co-authored a bill with Assembly Member Jackie Irwin called the Wildlife Corridors and Connectivity Act of 2024. And ultimately that is requiring the California Natural Resources Agency to identify wildlife corridors as part of 30 by 30 planning, and implement reporting to the legislature. The focus is a lot on terrestrial wildlife connectivity, but it also includes freshwater riverway pathways too. And so these are now going through committees, and there is an opportunity for folks to sign on in support of it. And then I'm going to switch gears now to Coastal Ranches Conservancy. We have also co-authored another bill with California Trout called Protection of Native Fish Habitat. And for those of you that have been doing steelhead restoration for quite some time, there was a historical bill that was introduced by Sheila Kuhl, Senate Bill 857, which required Caltrans to do an inventory and an assessment and a prioritization of fish passage barriers in association with their highway infrastructure. And that actually sunset a couple years ago. And so this is a reintroduction of that bill and cleaning up some language in the bill around what constitutes a fish passage barrier and fish passage. This also was highlighted recently when Caltrans tried to use expedited SEQA pathway for emergency work, and they didn't consider fish requirements in that emergency work, and it resulted in take. And so Coast Ranch Conservancy has actually got an Endangered Species Act litigation ongoing against Caltrans at the moment. But that is also going through committee right now, and we're trying to finalize a support letter sign-on for folks in this community to support that bill as it goes through budget, water, parks, and transportation committees at the legislature. And once those are finalized, I can share those with Elizabeth to share with the group.
Yeah, be happy to see that.
Yeah.
All right, is that it? Thank you so much, Candace.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and you said that second one was that was just for fun. Okay. So the Santa Clara River Conservancy, Chesapeake, Cienega Restoration and Public Access Project. Anybody here from that to give an update? Okay. And then next is the UC Santa Barbara Riparian Lab. And I believe you guys did a little bit of an update, but for watershed wide Orendo management and groundwater dependent ecosystem hydrology, is the update you provided in at the beginning, is that the same, or would you want to talk about it still?
So it looks like Tom Dudley just messaged me and said he was tied up. So just briefly, the first update is we've already pretty well covered. The second is there's a IRWM round 2 grant for investigation of groundwater dependent ecosystems on the Santa Clara River. That's now, I think, officially under contract, master contract with UCSB and a group of researchers. And so that work is just getting underway now. And we're trying to work all the way up from main ecosystems, GDEs, potentially near Freeman, and then the HRNA historical East Grove area. But currently talking to Newhall 5 Points about access to their lands right around the county line or upstream, so that we can have contrast with more inland groundwater dependent ecosystem sites to compare local weather and climate differences among the native plant species. A lot of it will be focused on plant ecophysiological responses to drought and water stress and depths of groundwater, and including comparison with the Rundo-Donac, so we can hopefully end up with a better estimate of the water benefits of removing a Rundo and replacing it with native vegetation, either via natural recruitment processes or with active revegetation.
Awesome, thank you. Appreciate that. Okay. Is there anything else you wanted to add, Bruce? And if I did cut you off.
Nope. No, that's fine. Thanks.
Awesome. Okay, finally for our last one, and then we can get into our discussion session. Anybody here from the Nature Conservancy to talk about your Santa Clara Nature Preserve? I know some cool things were happening with that. I don't think I see anybody.
Hi, Elizabeth. This is Alyssa Gomez. Yeah, we just talked recently about me getting added to this meeting. So hi, everyone. I'm from the Nature Conservancy. I'm the new Restoration Project Associate. I don't have any real updates about the Santa Clara River Preserve. It's currently closed right now because of damage from just, flooding, which is what we want it to do. It's within the floodplain. So it is being worked on currently and will hopefully be reopened soon. But no other updates.
Yeah, I know you guys had like a soft opening with a bunch of trails and stuff. So hopefully when that's open, we can all enjoy that.
Totally. And we will let folks know on our website when that is reopened.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much. I believe that is the last one. And if you have any, Candace, if you have a question, and yeah, if you have any new or other projects anybody wants to talk about, please feel free.
Yeah, it's tied a little bit to Bruce's update on the GDEs, and I sit on the Fillmore Empire Basin's Groundwater Sustainability Agency as the environmental representative for the Santa Clara River Environmental Groundwater Committee. And a lot of folks on the call are part of that. That puts that person forward. But ultimately, our groundwater sustainability plans failed. DWR failed them in January. And so we're on a timeline to update those. I was the only director on the GSA that didn't support the groundwater sustainability plans in their iteration because there weren't sustainable management criteria for endangered species like southern steelhead, amongst and therefore no minimum thresholds were set for the species. DWR has come back and agreed that ultimately that the GSA did not do a sufficient job with regards to surface water, groundwater interactions and the impacts that would have on groundwater dependent ecosystem uses and users being steelhead and other vegetative communities. EJ Remsen and I had a discussion with the UC Santa Barbara Brain School Masters Group that's doing some shallow well analysis out at just on Lost Creek next to Hedrick Ranch Nature Area. They are finalizing their report this March and including some recommendations for the GSA. But we essentially are on a 180-day turnaround to update and incorporate stronger environmental protections in the groundwater sustainability plans. And so I encourage all Santa Clara folks to engage in that process. It's a lot of reiterating previous comment letters and ensuring that we have better protections. I think DWR is watching. We got good comment letters from CalTrout and CDFW and NOAA NIMS and the Nature Conservancy and Friends of the Santa Clara River. It's kind of reiterating those and with DWR support for a better job and getting those protections in this update. We surely are trying to avoid any probation with the State Water Board. And so we meant to wrap that up by June, July. And so the next couple of months is going to be a big push for folks to be engaged. And we will be having focused, focused meetings with the public on that.
Okay. You know what? Let me just move us into the thing because I think Mark has some questions and let's just move into the discussion. So give me one more second. I'll wrap everything up. Okay. So this is my shield. I do this every time. If you have any projects that you would like grants for, please contact me. We can work together to do a project. Finally, if you have any public engagement events you would like us to be at, me to be at, or to promote for you, if you have any engagement events that you would like me to promote, please contact me. Meetings, organizations, anything you'd like. So now I would love to open this up for open discussion. For any questions, if you want a speaker at the next meeting, please contact me. And again, next meeting is in June the 13th from 10:30 to 12 p.m. And here's my email. So thank you guys for waiting. Please have at it. Start discussing, announcing whatever you guys need. Go ahead, Mark. Mark, you are muted.
Sorry about that. I just wanted to say two things. One was that I mentioned earlier there's a fly fishing film tour coming to Santa Barbara for the first time ever. So those of you who are interested in seeing what healthy river systems do and what fly fishing is like, this is a great opportunity to experience that. It's going to be held at the Libero Theater, and we're starting at 5:30 in the evening with there'll be a food truck out front. You can buy some food. There's drinks will be available. We're also having 3 different organizations that we're supporting as partners with this that are NGO groups who need some funding. So we're dedicating our raffle income to those groups. So raffle tickets are available. It's the 19th of this month, as I said, starts at 5:30. Movies start at 7. And you're welcome to come. It's at the Libero Theater. You can contact me, mrockwell1945@gmail.com. If you would like tickets, or you can go to the Libero box office and get tickets there. It's $22 per adult and $16 for kids under 16, I think it is, or 16 and under. So it's a great opportunity to see what healthy watersheds are like. And then also, I was going to suggest that, I don't know, Elizabeth, if you've already done this or you think about it, but I would like to be able to maybe have some tours available to see some of these other watersheds like the Santa Clara or the Ventura, or, even up here where we are, the Santa Ynez, just so we can visit some of the projects that are either being proposed or are ongoing or even completed, just so that we have a sense for the watersheds, up close and personal.
Yeah, I mean, if people want to show off their projects and their partnership projects, that is totally fine. I think that'd be a great idea. It'd be more coordination between all these different people. Rose Valley and Harvey. I think some of these areas may be difficult to access, but that's something I can try to set up in the future if everybody would like that. Is there anybody else who would be interested in that? Like a quick raise of the hand. Okay, I see Julie. See 1946. Catherine, you have a question, or are you like, yes, I would love to do that?
Oh, I was just signaling my excitement for that. No
Okay.
question here.
Cool. Then I can put that down since I think we have a couple people. Let's see. I'll put you on gallery view. All right. Okay, now I see some thumbs up. Anybody else? Thumbs up and in camera. Okay. All right. So
Yeah,
then this
have
go
to be
ahead.
an intolerable number, but maybe 2 or 3 tours a year to, important watersheds. I mean, we really want to get these fish back. And I think, I get excited when I'm out in the field, not so much sitting in front of the computer.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so then I can propose that. That'll be a little bit different, and more of a coordination between what projects are what. But if you are one of the people, if you're one of the groups that would love to show off your project, please email me. That way I'd know who is already ready to go and would like to be one of the people on that. I saw Brian, you said you were for that. If there's anything that EDC wants to show off, please let me know. But yeah, I would be totally happy to do that. And again, Garrett has a question. It says, curious if anyone has been involved or is interested on removal of the hardened barrier on Rincon Creek. Do we have anybody who's familiar with that or interested in that?
Yeah, the only reason I posed that question is it was identified as a priority barrier in the Caltrans assessment a few years ago. And just curious, since this is my first group meeting with this coalition, if anyone had any momentum going with that, or that's an untapped.
I believe it is untapped.
Okay.
Are you referring to the area where it crosses under Highway 101 and then the concrete apron that extends up from the culvert itself?
Yeah, exactly. That concrete apron, I think, is what they identified as the primary barrier there, but it is associated with 101, so I think it has that Caltrans component.
Yes, it does. And there were some fish passage modifications put within the culvert itself a number of years ago that have deteriorated or rusted out. There were like some baffles to basically try and create slow pockets. So this is something where the department has met with Caltrans and was looking at preliminary designs to create fish passage through that whole system. Also, it's got a number of issues, right? There's the downstream end, getting from the estuary into the culvert, getting through the culvert, and then getting past that apron. So it's a whole mess. But I have not heard a recent update on it. So that is actually a great point. I will email our Caltrans liaison and the engineer and see kind of where we are in the status. Because that is a really important barrier, and Rincon has a lot of habitat upstream and perennial habitat, which could be really beneficial. We did actually do some recent surveys in Rincon, or my staff did, and some walking surveys at least, and we did not have any bankside observations of Omicus. So they were there historically, of course, but following the prolonged extreme drought, and then also the Thomas Fire, which burned huge portions of the Rincon watershed. We fear that they might be extirpated from that watershed. So really just more priority to open it back up to anadromous recolonization.
Awesome. Yeah, I think the Federal Highway Administration has the Culvert AOP program that's got $1 billion allocated to anadromous fish. That's one of the resources I heavily pursue, and I'm happy to assist if you're interested in developing some more momentum there.
Yeah, I'm opened up an email now, so I'm gonna get the ball rolling at least on our end and see what's happening. So thank you for the reminder.
Awesome.
Might be good, Kyle, and to just include all of us in what we could do to motivate and push people forward, because I know the squeaky wheel gets the grease, and I think we just have to get squeakier.
So Kyle, on that note, I believe South Coast Habitat Restoration got a grant from the Department of Fish and Wildlife for an alternatives analysis on Gaviota Creek, and they were supporting Caltrans. And I was just also wondering, you know, how Caltrans is working with South Coast Habitat Restoration to move that project forward. It's kind of been stalled for a bit. Maybe if you're reaching out to Caltrans about Rincon, just a query about Gaviota Creek and that project too.
Yeah, absolutely, Candace. I believe the grant you were talking about was for 65% design on several barriers upstream of the tunnel on Gaviota. I've been working with South Coast and have in contact or an email out to Caltrans right now. I believe one of the points that they're delayed on is passing over the LiDAR data that was collected by a contractor to South Coast, and they were going to basically base some of their analysis on that. So there's some sort of delay with that communication. So, but that is something that I'm aware of, and I'm working with South Coast on that to try and make sure that information gets across.
All right, thank you.
Wonderful question. Okay. I will address what I was just thinking and I write down and leave it at the end of the meeting. So for any of the group tours of the watersheds, I'm gonna have to look a little bit more about that on how we could get there. Either if everyone's okay with caravanning in your own car or a different way to group travel. I have to look in and see what I'd be able to do, like cost wise. So, but I'm totally okay with doing this. I think it might be a really fun and good way to see what people are talking about. So I will have to get back to you guys on that for how we can execute this together.
So if we had a group meeting for location, I have 4 empty seats in my trucks.
I just got to make sure that's okay first, you know, some insurance things. Garrett, did you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, just this theme of storytelling and sharing best practices. I think it's important for this group, obviously, to see that where you can share similar ecosystems and types and transfer that knowledge. But I just wanted to relay that I'm seeing a huge need at the federal agency level, at the highest levels, for this storytelling component about successful projects that have been implemented. So if you have those, I'm sure Kyle, you probably more versed with the bigger footprint, but any of those stories that are impactful, I coordinate with other NGOs throughout the country that are actually looking to highlight those. And relating to what Mark said about the Fly Fishing Films Festival, there's actually producers in the Pacific Northwest now that are really talented at conveying these. There's funding to potentially promote these and elevate these. So if you have a success story in mind, please feel free to reach out or let Elizabeth know, and she can get in touch with me potentially. And there's just a lot of good stuff going on out there, and there's finally that acknowledgement that we need to elevate a lot of these stories.
Yes, definitely. So yeah, please contact me. I can hook you up with Garrett, or also I don't mind helping you with these stories. Like I said, on social media, if you need me to broadcast, like advertise an event, tell people about it, please get with me or reach out. Garrett, did you want to talk a little bit more about what you do, or because now we have a little bit more time for you, don't have to have like a little, you know, 5 second intro.
Yeah, I'll keep it. I've already talked enough, I think, but what Russell and I were discussing, apparently there was a new potential, I don't know if it's been acquired yet, so I don't want to jump the gun here, but it sounds like there might be funding to do some capacity development with the Chumash tribe and actually bringing on a tribal member and versing them in all aspects of project development, management, permitting, and really ultimately creating a new position within the tribal capacity that could potentially assist with pursuing more of these projects in the future. I come from working with tribes for 7 years on fisheries related projects and might be able to be a really good mentorship position for that. But again, really finding those opportunities to elevate tribal participation. And in addition to that, impoverished or climate, environmental justice communities. There's a big initiative right now at the federal level to make sure that the money that's available right now is reaching these historically underserved populations. And that extends to using some of the tools like the White House climate environmental justice screening tool is a great mechanism. I went through and just was looking at the Santa Clara watershed and finding like census tracts within Santa Paula that meet that CEJST criteria and potentially just qualify for more funding to bring to the table in some of these restoration projects, whether it be the Harvey diversion or Rose Valley up above. And then my position, I also do a lot of resource coordination, understanding what the funding sources are, what these permitting resources are, and where those can apply to individual projects. So I'm still in the sponge phase, learning a lot of this, but also happy to connect folks with other folks in the region. Relating to my discussions with Russell, we've been trying to explore DoD funding potential using the Ventura Naval Base infrastructure, as there's some great restoration program funding in there. However, it didn't reach up to the CESP, unfortunately, in the headwaters there above Ojai. It was actually like the Lancaster boundary from Edwards Air Force Base in those areas that actually extended closer. But there was overlap with the Santa Clara River below Highway 101. So if TNC or folks are interested in working in that area and bringing in additional partners and funding sources, I'm happy to help orchestrate those. Thank you. Looking forward to future meetings and hopefully some site visits if I'm in the area.
Yeah, thank you. No, that's great. I will say that we are also part of this grant. We're starting to look for a tribal partner, a tribal liaison who will hopefully work with tribal communities so they can also get their get projects, which I believe is what Russell was talking to you guys about. And then hopefully in the future we're writing more grants to try to expand on that as well. But Garrett right now is very good resource. So please reach out to him. Thank you, Garrett. That's really cool to hear about.
Thank you as well. And just to elaborate one last thing, we're actually hiring a tribal partnerships manager and a tribal legal fellow right now at Epic that will work and kind of enhance and work with the regional liaisons or coordinators that we have out there, and really just trying to create a robust network of resources available. Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Very cool. So then I'm gonna do this one last shill for the coalition, unless you guys, if anybody else has any more points. So we are looking for tribal liaison people. We have not started interviewing yet, but we've started meeting with people. If you have somebody who you believe is high connection to tribes, would fit this and help tribal members in the area of San Ynez and Santa Clara connect with these members, please reach out. We would love to talk to people who might be interested in environmental issues. We've already talked to wonderful people on this call about this, which I'm very excited to have you guys here for that. But yeah, we're probably going to start formally doing this more in the spring. But I just want to put that out there because I've emailed some people about it. And if anybody else has any more people they'd like to recommend, we'd love to hear from them. Candace, please.
Hi there. Yeah, I see two lovely tribal leaders on the call already, Lana and Julie. I also wanted to add that the Los Angeles Regional Water Quality Control Board has added tribal beneficial users and uses as targets in their basin plans. So I think this is very timely to be talking about how to bring tribal liaison in, because there are these targets in the basin plans, which can certainly help from this perspective to, I think that can also, it's not just the fisheries, but also the riparian forest protections of groundwater dependent ecosystems. I think the environmental and the tribal things can really dovetail nicely. But I want to bring that to people's attention because the tribal beneficial use is rather new add on to the basin plans.
You know, just relating to tribal consultation and involvement, I know like Christian highlighted, that's a need that they have at CDFW in the permitting and consultation process. But just from a respect perspective in working with tribes, the earlier you can come to them and involve them in the process, the better. If the train's already left the station and you're asking for their participation to come on, it could be seen as a sign of disrespect. I just encourage any of you folks that are looking for tribal participation to initiate that as early in the process as possible, because there's a lot of good insights that could come from that as well. Just a comment. Thanks.
Yeah. Does anybody else? We have about 8 more minutes. Is there anything else anybody would like to bring up or advertise? I know there's some Earth Day events coming up. Ventura has an Earth Day with Merito Foundation. Chumash has an Earth Day, I believe, in April, but you know, we won't be meeting then. And Julie Colbert is the director of San Ynez. Did you want to talk about your Earth Day, Julie? Or if you're not available, that's fine. They have a wonderful Instagram.
Yeah, I can talk about it real quick. We are having our annual Earth Day. It's on Saturday, April 13th, and it's here on the reservation. It's open to the public. So far we have, I think, over 20 vendors. So it's going to be a really good turnout this year. And we welcome, you know, any of you guys coming out. It's going to be from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. that day. So kind of 4-hour little event. And yeah, I think did I send you the flyer, Elizabeth? Like our final one?
Yeah, it's all
Okay.
posted. It's a beautiful flyer.
Okay. Yeah. That's right. You've done a good job putting it out there on the socials. So
Oh no, you guys did a great job making it. Does anybody else want to advertise? Hey, well, is there any final thoughts anybody has? Garrett, thank you for coming on. I hope we gave you enough time. I know this is a good time to talk about it, and if you have any concerns. I want to thank Christian again for being available and offering to consult people with their projects. Kyle and all CFW people, thank you for coming. And again, please reach out to me if you'd be one of the partners that would like to show off your projects, or just a member of the coalition that would like to show off your restoration projects. It'd be good. I think we would probably just do one watershed at a time. Oh, Elena.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Just really quick, because I see we have a few more minutes. I just wondered if any of the partners here are involved with the Matilaha Dam removal, and just really wanting to know what the updates are on that, just because it seems like the never-ending project, and just it affects our watershed so profoundly. Just throwing it out there real quick.
Unfortunately, we might not have anybody today, but Elena, I can forward you. The Matilaha does have a dam has a coalition, and they do have regular meetings, and I can forward your email to Russell so he can put you on those meetings, or maybe tell you what, give you an update. Fortunately, Matilaha is not in our watershed because there is so much activity happening. So you notice we have San Ynez watershed, and then we have the Santa Clara, and there's a little gap in between. That is the reason why there's a gap is that there's a lot of people working on that smaller watershed. While San Ynez and Santa Clara, San Ynez is very large and needs a lot of attention. So.
Gotcha. No, yeah, that'd be great if you want to connect me with any of that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I'll tell Russell that you would like to.
Thanks. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Yeah, the coalition is a great spot to get some updates on what's going on with Matilaha. I want to let you know as well, Elena, from our perspective with CDFW, we're actively working on several of the other projects downstream of the Matilaha Dam, which are required to be completed prior to the dam being removed. One of them is improvements to the Minor Oaks levee. We have a grant which is funding the 30% designs on that. We're also working with the Casitas Municipal Water District and NHC, or a consultant firm, basically to redesign the Robles diversion. Because once the dam comes down, we're going to have different sediment transport, we're going to have different flow regimes, and the current facility is not going to be able to handle that. Particularly, I don't know, in the last couple of years, you might have seen they've had some problems with their timber wall basically being blown out entirely during high flows. So we working on that redesign, and that's in the progress, trying to work on alternative selection right now. There's also the Camino Cielo Bridge upstream of the diversion that the County of Ventura is working on redesigning, just because that again is something that is undersized. So we're trying to make a lot of progress on these side projects that need to happen first, and trying to get those done as fast as possible, basically. Of
Thanks, Kyle.
course.
Just anecdotally, they're doing a supplemental EIR at the county, and that is because the reasonable prudent alternative changed for the dam removal from the previous one that the Board of Supervisors certified. So we're waiting for that to come out. But Alani, there is a county website, and you can sign up for notifications when all the project updates happen and when there are opportunities for public engagement. So you get notified by email.
Thank you, Candace. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too.
So is that the Ventura County Public Works website, or is that just
Yeah, and they have a Matilaha page, and you can sign, and I believe it's on that landing page.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was their own separate website or if it was on the Ventura County Public Works. But all right, well, thank you guys for all this great information. We have 2 minutes. Last call for anything. I keep putting this out there because we're getting some great last call questions. Okay, well, if you have any, if you want me to advertise anything, put out anything on Instagram, if you want to work together to advertise anything, please let me know. I'll use the social media skills I've acquired to put that to use. If you want anybody to be a part of this meeting, please send me their email. I can add them to the email list. If you would like to be a speaker or have a good idea for a speaker for next meeting, please email me. I have some candidates, but I don't have anything set up yet. And again, contact all the people that have provided their emails if you want to get in touch with them. But don't forget to reach out. We have a lot of stuff coming up. Earth Day is coming up, so there's gonna be a lot of events. And yeah, hope you guys have a wonderful day. Get some lunch. Hopefully it's relaxing. Nothing blows over in all this wind. And may your internet be stable. Have a wonderful day, everybody. And I'll thank you for coming. Bye.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Bye.
You're welcome. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.
Yeah, thank you for coming. Thank you.